Welcome to another episode of Chatting with Sonia and Friends. I'm Sonya Byes, and today I am going to be discussing a subject that, people are not talking about, should be talking about, but we're talking about it. So today I'm going to be joined by 3 menopause specialists, and this conversation is going to be much needed, a lot of fun. Like, the ladies are so much fun. But very impactful, very informative, and I'm really excited to have them all here. So we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. So I am joined here in the studio with Dr. Rebbecca Hertel. We are also going to be joined via virtual Dr. Hart Kress and Dr. Aoife O'Sullivan, and they're all menopausal specialists. So thank you, ladies, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I've been excited all week to have you ladies on and to talk about a much needed conversation. You ladies make it light and fun and, again, very impactful. So, and I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the whole thing is going to be all about menopause, perimenopause. Hopefully we'll answer some of your questions going through. And why don't we start with the lady in the studio? Welcome, Dr. Hertel.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. And so we're just going to dive right in. Menopause, perimenopause. What's the difference between perimenopause and menopause?
So perimenopause is that time around you're leading up to your last menstrual cycle. So menopause is defined, albeit it's a little odd for women that don't have a uterus, but it's 12 months and 1 day without a period. And so perimenopause is that time leading up to that. So it's kind of been coined the zone of chaos, right? So, the estrogen and progesterone are fluctuating. Your testosterone is going down. This can start anywhere between your mid to late 30s and go clear through into your 40s. Can last for just a few months, can last 4 to 7, 8 years, even up to 10 years for some women. So it can be quite disruptive, quite devastating for some. It's not just like a light switch where all of a sudden you're done. A lot of times that's just, your ovaries are starting to run out of eggs, and it's your body's way of telling you that you're approaching this midlife transition into menopause where you stop ovulating and are done with your periods after that.
And you mentioned 4 to 8 years. You can be in perimenopause for 4 to 8 years?
Yeah.
Starting at 30?
Mid to late 30s.
Yikes, that's scary. And so some of the missed signs, what are some of the missed signs? People know, women know that they're just feeling a little bit off, but they don't know why. And the off feeling is some of the symptoms are mood swings, anxiety, sleep disruption, brain fog even. Can somebody speak a little bit to the symptoms that we're kind of ignoring them, if I'm being honest?
I think, one of the earliest signs, of perimenopause is changes in your periods. And women hope that their changes in their periods present as the first sign, which is when your periods start to space out by 7 days. And then that's early perimenopause transition. And then late perimenopause transition, everybody gets excited for when they're more than 60 days between periods. But as Dr. Hertel mentioned, your hormonal fluctuations can be quite rapid, especially estrogen. And the little, your brain is asking for your ovaries to produce estrogen, and your ovaries respond, trying as hard as they can to ovulate and push out a bunch of estrogen. And unfortunately, for some women, they ovulate back to back, and then their periods get really crazy. And so instead of periods spacing out, they'll start having periods. Some women every 2 weeks, they'll get heavier, they'll last longer. I used to call it it's like the 4th of July Big Bang Theory. Your uterus is going crazy. Everybody's asking the ovaries to do things that they're really struggling to do as you run out of estrogen. And so periods get really out of whack. And then the other two really common symptoms in perimenopause is that famous waking up between 1 and 3 in the morning, except now instead of waking up and being able to roll over and fall back to sleep, your brain just turns on, and some women start ruminating and obsessing about things. And then the other thing that happens is lots and lots of mood swings as those hormones are down regulating.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. And when Dr. Christine, is it painful? Because that sounds like a lot happening. Is some women in pain?
Well, if your periods are heavy enough and lasting long enough, absolutely. I would say, you're sitting, here with three perimenopausal women. And I think what we all probably agree on is that everything is super unpredictable for that period of time until the ovaries run out of eggs. And it's really more frustrating because you have good days and you have bad days. And it seems like every day a new symptom shows up and women are like, is that my hormones? And not all the time, but a lot of the time it is just from your hormones. So I'd say more, it's not painful as much as just really super frustrating.
And that's really true. And Dr. O'Sullivan, can we please talk about the midsection waking? That's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of elements to that. So, we already talked about broken sleep and not sleeping so well at nighttime, which really means your energy levels take a hit. And also, as your estrogen levels drop, you tend to lose control over your insulin and your glucose levels in your body. And so everything is changing. And that subcutaneous fat that you used to have on your thighs and your arms is shifting, and it shifts to your midsection, which is that dangerous type of fat. And it collects around your organs and within your organs and is pretty detrimental.
Thank you. And Dr. Rebbecca, it's often misdiagnosed or whatever. Are we diagnosed? Are we ever diagnosed with menopause? Or do we just assume as patients that we're going through menopause? Or these things we should be asking our doctors?
Yeah, so menopause is the diagnosis, like I said, where it's 12 months and 1 day without your period. And there are labs that we can do as well. So, and those need to be done typically about 6 weeks apart. And your FSH is a certain lab number, and that's consistently over 30. And your estradiol is going to be really low, typically below 30. If not below 25. Whereas if you were to sit next to your male spouse, he would have more estrogen in his body than you would if you're in menopause. So it's typically the perimenopause that's a little bit more misunderstood. We really aren't thinking about these things in our mid 40s, and we're truthfully not necessarily thinking about it even in our early 50s. So you're just kind of going along and all of a sudden not really understanding what may be happening to you while you're not sleeping, and the midsection changes like Dr. O'Sullivan was saying, and the, period changes like Dr. Kress was talking about, or these mood changes, and all of a sudden you just think it's you, or you're silent about it and you don't want to talk to anyone about it. And there's shame around that. And not to mention there's also a little bit of shame when it comes to aging, and particularly aging in women. So,
and you think you're just gaining all this weight, and it's embarrassing. That's one of the things you're just like, I'm exercising. My diet hasn't changed. I'm still mobile, but I remember waking up like, where's this stomach? And I had a pouch, obviously I had a baby, but it was just a midsection. It was just nothing I did to get rid of it. I just started shopping for it, not even thinking like, you may be a menopause. Just stuff we don't really think about. So when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit more into this conversation, and we are going to ask these ladies the hard questions and even some embarrassing ones. So stay tuned. You're watching Chatting with Sonia and Friends, and we'll be right back.